Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Diana King, a real-life geologist with a PhD, and if there's one piece of misinformation that really grinds my gears, it's how inexplicably popular in recent years the demonstrably wrong idea that the world is flat has become. Recently, Twitter has been showing a disturbingly popular page that makes such claims on my timeline. So today, once again, we are going to be taking a dive into the flirtosphere to see what these flat earthers are saying about geology and other aspects of science they don't seem to understand. Our subject of discussion today is the Flat Earth Library, a Twitter account that posts some of the most absurd pseudoscience imaginable multiple times a day, every single day, as well as occasionally stuff in support of things like climate change denial and young Earth creationism. So I want to respond to just a few of these posts from the past few days that this account has posted with actual science as well as with basic common sense, because some of these are so bad they don't even need research because they are self-debunking. Now, the first post we're going to be talking about isn't actually about the world being flat at all, but is about how these structures, which are visible in the sandstones of Monument Valley, are... well, I'll let this guy say what he thinks they are.
This is Monument Valley, on the corner of Utah and Arizona, United States. Now, if you notice, these are cut blocks in the ground. And I've been trying to tell y'all that ancient people had technology that they don't tell us about. So how did these blocks happen naturally? I know there's going to be someone that drops in the comments and defends the matrix programming to try to explain how this is natural. These cuts, look at that cut.
Okay, so what he's showing us here at Monument Valley is a textbook example of what's referred to by geologists as orthogonal jointing. This is something that's very common in sandstones because they are what's called an auxetic material. An auxetic material is one where extension in one direction causes extension in the perpendicular direction, unlike in most materials where it causes compression in the perpendicular direction. As Lee and Xi discuss in this 2021 paper, when you apply extensional tectonic strain to a quartz sandstone in one direction, because it's auxetic, the sandstone also stretches apart in the other direction 90 degrees to that direction, causing it to fracture just like this. But interestingly, because compressional stress can also form joints and also runs perpendicular to that extensional stress, these exact same kinds of structures can also form in non-auxetic rocks too, just not quite as commonly as they do in sandstones. And you can actually demonstrate this right now if you have a mildly stretchy material that compresses in the perpendicular direction and then apply some hard varnish to it. When you stretch that material out, you find orthogonal joints forming in the varnish that look just like the ones in Monument Valley and also have these perfect 90-degree fracture surfaces as shown in this paper by Rives et al., which used a stretchy plastic plate and some hard varnish, and you could easily go test this for yourself. That does not mean that there are tiny people with advanced cutting equipment on this varnish. It's just how materials respond to extensional stress. And the sandstones at Monument Valley are in an extensional tectonic setting just as you would expect, and you can read all about its cool geological features in this paper which I've attached in the description.
Look at these cuts all throughout the land here. You can see it's pre-cut. Y'all are seeing what I'm seeing, right? These cuts, it starts at the edge, and then it goes all the way through here, even down up in here. And on the right side where my finger you can't see my finger, but over there too.
We just established that no one has been cutting, and of course these structures go all the way into the rocks. The whole region is undergoing extensional tectonic stress, not just the edge of the cliff where those blocks are being eroded out.
This looks like Somebody took a pizza cutter and just pre-sliced the pizza.
Just because something looks like something else doesn't mean it's that thing. This is exactly the same problem that Mud Fossil University has.
So you just grab your piece. That's what that looks like. This is pre-flood. The reason why we know it's pre-flood is because there are fossilized sea creatures all up in this whole area on these rocks.
Oh god, he's a young Earth creationist too. I've already made a video comprehensively debunking Noah's flood and all the arguments for it, so I don't feel a need to talk about that right now, but I'll point you to that video if you're interested.
These cubes and stuff. So they were building something back then.
Ah yes, some nondescript people were, cutting rock in the directions we would expect it to be cut based on tectonics, and then just leaving it and not doing anything with it. And we have no evidence of these giant structures they would have supposedly been building with them, even though these things would presumably have had to have been miles tall given the size of the bricks.
And then the flood came. And this is the evidence. This is not natural. This is not natural.
Oh, so your giant building was conveniently pre-flood, and then you lost any evidence for it at all, and got left with rocks that show no sign of being cut by humans at all, and just display typical orthogonal jointing, like pretty much every other sandstone in an extensional tectonic environment worldwide.
This is not natural.
Yes, it is.
Okay, let's continue. We wouldn't even know about this unless this independent guy found this stuff. This is a cube. Look at those dimensions.
No, that's a cuboid, not a cube. Also, yes, we would know about this because tons of scientists have published on it for decades.
Right angles. How did they do this? How did they do this? How did they cut the earth like that? Laser technology, people.
Lasers? But before electricity had been developed, and when we knew how these exact same structures can form in rocks in a way you can demonstrate using varnish on stretchy plastic yourself at home? This is insane!
I'm trying to tell you, ancient people had mad tech. And we're impressed with the iPhone. Okay? They cut the earth like this. And it's like, what were they building? Stuff like the pyramids and stuff, monoliths is what they were building. So what is the point of this video? The point of this video is to get you to question the mainstream information and question what you're being told.
So there you have it, folks. This guy openly admits that he's doing this entirely to make his audience question rigorously tested science and sow distrust in the scientific community while deliberately ignoring the simple experiment that you can do at home, which would debunk him because he is not interested in being genuinely skeptical, and he doesn't want you to be genuinely skeptical. All he's trying to do, and he basically just admitted it, is turn you against science. Skepticism is healthy in science. And of course, if you think a study has issues, you can run your own experiment and test it and get your findings peer-reviewed. That is a huge part of how science is done. But this guy doesn't like when scientists have run those experiments, so he pretends that those experiments haven't happened, as with the varnish experiment.
Because they conveniently forgot to tell us about this in school.
Yes, that's because you don't need to learn about structural geology unless you want to be a geologist. Like, if you do an A-level in geology or study geology at university, you will learn about orthogonal jointing and how it happens.
They skipped that part. All right. Intelligent human beings, probably with the Nephilim giants, were cutting these blocks out to build monoliths and temples and all kinds of stuff back in the day. But they didn't tell us about this. Why? Why are they hiding that?
No one is hiding anything. There have been a bunch of studies into how these structures formed, and I've attached those studies in the description. I think I'll leave this video here because he just repeats the same nonsense arguments and keeps invoking lasers without evidence, so we'll move on to this Twitter account's next post, which I'm sure will be very well argued and rational. This video is presented by this fellow who has some unique insights on a building.
So apparently this building was made at the same time as the gold rush in Montana, but take a look at this right here. You can't tell me that's not a fingerprint. Look at the detail, the small little details. That would be a very big thumbprint. The Nephilim, the giants. What do you think?
Okay, so this chap is seemingly implying that during the Montana Gold Rush, there were enormous giant people, some of whom decided to leave a fingerprint on the side of this building, which was built in 1866 and which was the Helena First National Bank and is now the Helena Securities Building. This building, which you can read all about on this website, which I've attached in the description, which is in a busy street on the city of Helena, Montana. I expected to believe that only a short period of time ago there was a giant who built a bank for some reason, when there's no historical record of anyone in that entire city ever noticing a giant, and whom we know which architectural firm built. What's more likely? That situation, or that an architect thought it would be cool to make a fingerprint design as part of the building's decorations? Anyway, on to the next one of their weird videos, and this one is actually about the world being flat. We got there, folks! We're finally going to debunk some flat Earth!
Rainbows are undeniable proof that we are under a firmament. So you probably always wonder why a rainbow is in the shape of a dome, why it's always arched. Now science will tell you that a rainbow is caused when sunlight enters a water droplet, bends, reflects, and comes out as a visible spectrum. Now while that's true for the most part, what they're not telling you is that the raindrops are only there to act as a screen, to capture what's being projected. In order to fully grasp what a rainbow is, you first need to understand refraction. I know we've all seen this image before. Refraction is the bending of light as it transports from one transparent medium, like glass, into another. So here we have a white light hitting a glass prism and turning into a straight rainbow. But notice, we have never seen a straight rainbow. We've never seen a rainbow that forms right angles or one that goes straight up or straight down. It's always in the shape of a dome.
No, but at the start of your video, you literally showed a curved window forming on water droplets. You've already debunked yourself without needing to invoke a dome or get into the science.
And the funny thing is, to actually create a rainbow indoors, you need a mirror. You need a prism. But not just any mirror, you need a mirror submerged in water.
No, you don't. You literally just showed one form on water being sprayed out of a hose at the start of your video without a dome. Here's someone else making an arc-shaped rainbow with a hose. And here's someone else doing that. Interesting that when water droplets are involved, like they are in the frickin' sky when it's raining, the light always forms an arc-shaped rainbow without there being any kind of dome over the Earth involved.
Now, since our mirror here is flat, our rainbow, which is reflecting the water, or mist, is going to be a straight, flat rainbow. So understand, the rainbow is always going to take shape of the medium it's being reflected off of.
Oh, now he's acting like water droplets in the atmosphere have flat sides and not round spherical ones. I did not know that flat earthers were also flat raindroppers too.
So what is the medium being reflected outside? Our glass firmament, the glass dome.
If you needed a dome, you wouldn't be able to simulate a curved rainbow with a hose.
It's really that simple. Hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong and has a molten looking glass. Just as creating a rainbow indoors requires a mirror submerged in water, Genesis tells us that there are waters above our firmament.
Ah yes, because the Bible is famously a science textbook. No wonder these guys think we haven't been to space. They think it's a giant swimming pool.
God made the firmament, which divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above it, and it was so. These are the very same waters that were released to flood the earth during the days of Noah. There's even several mentions in scripture of floodgates that God opens up from above to reset the earth.
If there were giant floodgates above the earth, why have they never been seen by astronomers?
And you'll find the firmament and the same flood story in the Quran, the Vedas, and countless other cultures.
Oh my god, is this guy talking about Noah's flood too? Again, watch my video from the other week on that. The entire rest of this video is just more of him not understanding optical physics and making biblical references to justify him not understanding things that he could have read about with a quick Google search. So I'm going to move on to the next one.
So I think Devil's Tower was a big tree that was chopped down, and that was the tree trunk that was left of it.
The true color. A big chunk of this just fell off.
And it was chopped down by giants or whatnot.
Hold on a second.
And this guy's showing the side of a mountain
Okay, we're
that's
gonna go
been
down over here.
petrified,
And I'll show you a little more.
and
Okay.
it pretty much breaks off
See here.
like chunks of wood.
Well, it's interesting that you think that, because you're wrong. The column is made up of igneous rock, and it's formed that shape because it's an example of columnar jointing, which anyone who's studied geology will tell you forms when either a lava flow or an igneous intrusion cools and contracts. These are something which is very well understood and widely documented in igneous rocks, wherein the top of the lava flow or igneous intrusion cools around cooling centers and contracts, and then fractures form between the cooling centers, which then propagate downwards. Specifically, the tower in the Devil's Tower is made up of phonolite, which is an intermediate composition igneous rock between silicious and mafic, and it is porphyritic, meaning that it has one set of crystals that form slowly and then much finer crystals after it was abruptly spurted towards the surface and then cooled much more quickly. It's also got lots of large phenocrysts of orthoclase in it, as discussed in this paper by William Bassett. As discussed in that paper, those phenocrysts have been potassium argon dated to a Middle Eocene age of 40.5 million years, and there is no evidence whatsoever for giant trees in the Middle Eocene. A great paper by Zavada et al. From 2015 is free to read and goes into detail about the Devil's Tower's geological history based on all of the evidence for how it formed in a volcano, how it cooled, and the structures and composition of the different igneous rocks present in the mountain. So that was easy. The rest of this video is him and another guy who had filmed the video basically talking over each other to the point that it's actually really hard to hear what they're saying because their voices are kind of, over the top of each other. But the general gist is that they are saying it looks like wood. And once again, something looking like something else does not mean that it is that thing. Just read some of the scientific papers I've linked in the description from people who've actually analysed the rock. Anyway, now we need to go on to another one of their videos, which is about flat moon theory. So, why is the dark patch on the moon curved if, according to that video, the shadow is the Earth's shadow? Well, because the shadow on the moon in each of its phases is not the Earth's shadow. It's the part that isn't facing the sun. Hey everyone, editing me here with a correction because I basically filmed a segment about this video where I got everything wrong because I misinterpreted that image as just being a phase of the moon when it is quite clearly a lunar eclipse, which actually is the Earth's shadow. So, why is the Earth's shadow on the moon curved when, according to their model, if you shine a shadow from a sphere onto another sphere, it becomes a straight line? Well, because that's complete bullshit, as can be demonstrated with any model ever in the real world. Basically, it looks like a straight line in their model because of how close the spheres are. If you move them further away, or have spheres of different sizes relative to one another, then their not-to-scale model no longer represents how the Earth's shadow actually looks on the moon. In short, these people are just lying. That's it. It sure is great that these people just lie, isn't it? Yay! But not only do these people claim that the moon is flat, they also claim that the moon is a model, I think, based on this post. Now, this could be saying that all the high-resolution photos that NASA and other space agencies put out of the moon are just photos of these models, but like, you can see the majority of these features with a high-power telescope. Or are they saying that some shadowy organization invented the moon and built it as a model that flies through the sky? Maybe, in which case, I hate to bring up the Bible after I just sort of bashed it, but they wrote about the moon in their first book thousands of years ago. The moon was clearly present and talked about in every single culture ever. This is just, I don't even know what they're trying to argue here. Like, there are so many reasons that people might make a model of the moon, even for a museum exhibit or something. That doesn't mean that the moon is fake or flat. This is just wild. And now for the one I have been most desperate to show you guys. You will not believe this one. You've heard of flat Earth, but now get ready for magnet plasma battery wire Earth. Okay, so we first see the world as a spinning disc of plasma in a metal coil coming off a metal instrument with electricity being discharged through it. You do know that the Earth is solid, not plasma, right? But if you do this different experiment using a battery, you can make a dome out of plasma, which is really funny when you consider that this account also posted a video this exact week about a piece of the firmament crashing to Earth like it's a rock. So like, what do they even think the dome is? Rock or plasma? And when you consider that plasma glows, and we can't see a giant flowing mass of plasma over the world at night? Right? This is really absurd. And in any case, it sure is interesting how no astronomers have ever seen a giant plasma emitter over the Earth too, isn't it? The sun and the moon are attached to giant wires spinning off the giant magnetized enormous battery under the planet, supposedly? Wow, that's totally plausible. Let's have a look for giant wires in space holding the sun and moon in the scientific literature on Google Scholar. Oops. Also, who do they think could possibly have done this and genuinely Why? Like, I wonder if there's any particular group of people that they seem to think are coming for them and are responsible for all of their conspiracy. Oh! Yeah, we'll put that down. Casual anti-Semitism jump scare from these people? They really posted that. Huh. Now for the last one, because I am obsessed with it. I keep watching it. I can't stop watching it. It's hilarious. Okay, so they say that the sun moves away, not down, but it's moving down on the screen and even crossing the horizon. Let's put a line for the middle of the sun. If it's not moving down, it won't go past the center. Oh no, it's almost like the world isn't flat. Thank you for watching, everyone. I know that this was certainly a weird video. Like, a lot of those posts, I'm actually genuinely not sure what they were trying to say because of how utterly bizarre they were. In any case, I hope you enjoyed that little bit of a stroll through the depths of Twitter pseudoscience insanity. A huge shout out to my wonderful 4am tier supporters, Aries, Geneva, and Tiles, as well as my delightful Dilophosaurus tier supporters, Ours and Futurebird, and our beautiful Radiolarian tier supporters, Glenn Collins, Brody Utting, and Jean and Eric Feenstra. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope that we'll see you very soon. Bye bye!